Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Stormies. This is the 2023 edition, which rewards all the hard work and effort you photographers put in to chasing in 2022. So these are the best images and portfolios from 2022. Right now, we're releasing our selections, and these are kind of the first pass, our favorite top 15, top 20, top 30 images in each of the categories. So the way we like to announce our selections is with a blog post and then a corresponding critique video where we're going to go through each of the images and kind of critique them, talk about what we love, talk about things you can work on. And all of these critiques, truly from the bottom of our hearts, are with the intention of trying to raise the game of storm photography everywhere, across the world. The three judges here, me, Dennis, and Linda, we are highly critical of our own work, and we've been doing this for quite a while now, and some of you have been doing it for a long time. Some of you have just started. And so all this feedback and all the ideas and thoughts we have are from years of experience and for trying to help everyone get better. I'm always trying to get better. Linda and Dennis, we're always trying to get better, trying to do better when we're chasing, trying to find better compositions, trying to learn how to maybe edit a little better. And it's things that we're hoping to pass on that will help elevate the game. So everything that we say here is meant to be helpful, encouraging, and to prepare you for this current season, 2023, which is already, kicking off in Australia from the photos I've seen, and spring is right around the corner. There's even been storms in Arizona already. So this is to prep you for that and to get you excited for this upcoming season of chasing and storm photography. So without further ado, here are our selections. Okay, well, we are going to start with make sure I've got this going here. We're going to start with our 20 selections for Tornado. And I've got my drink, Liquid Death, which is, I don't even know why. That's probably not appropriate. Maybe it's appropriate for tornadoes, but it's not that. Yeah, it's kind of tastes like that. Not a lot of flavor.
Just good old water.
Good old water. That's a prettier bottle.
My water has to be fizzy.
Yeah, I know. That's what I saw this at Target. I'm like, what is this? Why would you have a drink called Liquid Death? But I got it. Yeah. So we are going to go through our first one here. Congratulations. I'm probably not going to name names on the website. We will have all these listed with names. But I remember, I think this was Iowa? I don't know. My brain from a year ago is fuzzy. April 12th, it says here. I think that's when it was. So this is one of those earlier year tornadoes, but beautiful shot. Lots of kind of detail with the debris and stuff. So I will say overall this year for tornadoes, 2022 for tornadoes was pretty brutal. So I think there's like three major storms that had tornadoes, and there wasn't a ton of variety. So very, very interesting. Anyone have anything to add on this one?
I like the motion in this one. You could almost feel the rotation and the dust swirling around. So yeah, for me, it's a classical textbook tornado shot, like in an old good meteorological book or so.
Yes, agreed. And they're fairly close to it, which is also nice. I mean, not that you necessarily want to always be close, but that you do get a sense of all that kind of power and motion when you're this close.
Yeah.
This is, I think, the same tornado from, it says Palmer. So I think that's kind of where it was, April 12th. Kind of different looking white balance and everything compared to the other one. Linda, you have any thoughts about this one?
I like the image for the same reason, because it's so turbulent and it's got a lot of motion. I think one thing that I might improve upon is the crop. Some of the stuff near the top is not, in my opinion, helping the image. Yeah. So maybe that, and maybe adjust the white balance a bit. But overall, it's a great shot. And like, once you're there, what other shot are you going to take?
Yeah.
It's just a shot.
It feels a tad on the bright side to me if I'm looking at the histogram. It also seems like there might have been some power lines removed and maybe just didn't get all the way removed on the left edge here, which I just now noticed looking at this. So one of those little detail things. This is a beautiful, beautiful image. I was around this day and I wasn't anywhere near this. I was about 5 miles south or whatever. So when I see these photos, it kind of hurts me a little bit that I somehow did not get there. The only thing I really have to say about this image that would be negative is that I think for me, cropping is such a big deal. So I probably bring up cropping a lot. I do think that this kind of image, that this foreground here is not really important at all. So I would think about cropping up more, kind of to the up, either straight up or to the left a little bit. But I mean, the fact that this tornado is kind of almost engulfing that windmill and you can see it disappear in the dust is just incredible.
Yeah, I think the image itself is really great. When you scout around a little bit, especially the blue regions on the left, you can see a lot of blotchiness and stuff in there. I don't know if that's because the person just boosted the saturation in the blue channel or whatever, but this is not really working, I think. And I think maybe that's something that could be done a little bit better with a little bit of care. Don't be afraid to get into Photoshop and make some like just selections locally. Maybe adjust the white balance overall. It feels a little cooler than it should be to me. But the image itself, I really love, and I agree with you, Mike, that perhaps you could crop in from the bottom a bit onto the grass, since that's not really helping the story. But it's one of the most beautiful images in the collection for sure.
Yep. And I love the turbulent,
absolutely, yes. Yeah. But considering cropping, I think especially in storm chasing, cropping is a big deal because you don't have time to do a great shot. So in landscape photography, you have time, you can set up your shot and you can select your zoom and etc. But if you don't have the time, you need to act very fast and very quickly. So maybe cropping could save a lot of the image afterwards. Not only this image. I like this image very much, but overall, maybe you can rethink your editing again. And you can get a lot more out of your image.
Correct. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And one of the other things that I also think is really valuable, just speaking of this, and we'll move on real quick, is the ability of, tools like Photoshop and Gigapixel to take a raw file, especially Photoshop can do this. You can open up a raw file in Photoshop and then enhance it, which doubles the size of your raw file and then gives you a DNG raw file as a result. And then you can crop that in and still have, like, I have no idea what the original, this was shot on a Canon R5. So it's got a lot of pixels to it. So if you crop it, it's not so bad. But if you have to crop it a decent amount, you can enlarge it and then even crop it in and you still have a giant, 8,000 pixel wide image. And that keeps a lot of that detail and then allows you to crop it in and not lose like a printable file because you have to crop so much. And you're so right, Dennis. Even last night, out storm chasing last night, got on a lightning storm and I'm aiming with a 135 because it's kind of small bolts, low clouds. And I got a great lightning bolt, but guess what? It's kind of to the left. So I had to do what I said, enhance the image, crop it. And you can't know where lightning's going to land and stuff, like you said, and things like, this, you're in a hurry. I mean, this is the perfect moment when this tornado is on that windmill. I mean, you just don't know. You're not going to get it perfect. So cropping is super important. But lovely, lovely image. Here's another shot of that tornado. Obviously, either the same windmill or it hit another one. It's a little bit fuzzier, like on the sharpness. But again, that's probably one of those. Maybe it was handheld because you just had no choice. You stepped outside of your car and shot it. And definitely a slow 1/6 of a second shutter speed. I know that was a really windy day. So even if you were on a tripod, that was probably really hard to lock it down. So,
but in this case, the foreground it's better because it's just there. So you can see it, but it's a lot smaller. So it adds nothing more like it should be to the image. And especially in this one, the wind, how do you call it? The
windmill. Yeah.
The windmill. It's just disappearing like in fog.
Yes.
This is great.
All right, so we'll go to another one of the same tornado. If I mentioned about how there is a lack of big tornadoes this year, a lot of them are just of a few. But again, and this is vertical. So, Linda, I don't know how you feel about, sometimes when it's vertical, then you kind of can go with more foreground. Do you think so?
I guess, yeah. I mean, that's true at some point for that. I think here that's not helping it. A lot of it goes almost to black. So it seems like if there's no information for us to see, if you're trying to communicate something visually, that might be a drawback. I suspect maybe some heavy vignetting was used here to kind of achieve that. I might personally reel that back a little bit and go a bit easier on the greens. A lot of the extra saturation that sometimes can come from increasing contrast in an image might need to be counteracted a little bit by just adjusting either sliders or settings in Photoshop to bring that color back into a more representative area. But again, of course, the tornado itself is fantastic. I actually kind of want to see what's up there in that vignetted area near the top, just because that is such a dynamic storm and there's so many, different curls and stuff up there. Yep. But overall, of course, great shot, tornado. But I would probably crop that a bit different. Yeah.
I'd probably crop it up to the left a little bit to center to me, if you're going to do it, center the tornado a little bit more with the crop. And I agree. There's probably a balance between doing vignetting and then doing too much. And it's just a little bit tough because, as we saw in one of the earlier images, there was a lot of cool, motion and churning in the clouds up here. And it does feel a little like I can't see it. And if I'm looking at the histogram, it's very much pushed to the left and like really mashed up the left side. And so I think a little bit more of a balance would be better, but still, I mean, fantastic. And again, these are the shots that, and the things that we talk about, which is the moment in the shot. It's tough because this is an ongoing tornado that you are just trying your best to get a photo of because it's moving fast and you're maybe in danger, or maybe you got to worry about where you're going next. So like these kind of shots in general are kind of amazing, to begin with, just because of the situation.
And as you said earlier, the inflow winds are very, very hard to deal with it in such a situation. If you can't keep your camera calm, so even more difficult.
Yep. This was another tornado. I think it says May 4th. I don't know if that's correct. I'm not even actually sure what tornado this was. So unless that was the same one. Yeah, it says May 4th. So I guess this was probably Crowell from a different angle. I did not even realize that. But this is again, I like it. I think there's a lot of motion in the clouds, and it's a 1 second shutter, 1 second shutter speed. So there's definitely going to be, some blurriness because of that. But I think this one, again, to me, there's just all this foreground here that I don't really want to see, and I would crop it, up to the left. But I actually kind of like it because I like the windmills in the tornado in the distance and all the clouds above it. It's kind of not like the tornado's front and center. It's more of a bigger, wider shot. And I kind of like that as, a change from just a normal, like up close tornado photo.
Sometimes it could work if you show some more foreground. So you can imagine you will be in the scene yourself if you look on the picture. So, but I agree with this. Maybe in this case I would crop it a little bit from the right, just a bit. So, but overall, maybe I like that you can see all this storm motion over it and this tornado in just a small under it. So,
One thing I just thought I thought of, because it was a 1 second shutter click. The shot says it was at f11 ISO 320 1 second. It might be worth bringing the f-stop down to 7.1 or 8, and trying to get with a tornado. It's very hard to think in the moment, and so sometimes you're just trying to get a good exposure and take a shot, but it might be worth a little bit faster of a shutter speed to freeze the clouds and all that motion a little bit better. We'll go to this one. This one's an iPhone photo, and I think we discussed it a little bit, and we just decided it was so like insane and gnarly, that Morton tornado, that this is pretty amazing and worth kind of keeping in the top 20 here. Yeah,
I would say that my first commentary to this would be that give this person a real camera.
Yeah.
Because this is such a great shot, like just compositionally and everything that's going on. Yep. And the fact that it was on an iPhone. Of course, it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny, but it'll look great on the gram, and it's a super impressive shot. So just in terms of wow factor, this
kudos.
Is definitely up there.
Kudos on the thumbnail on the gram. I love it.
Yeah.
No. And you know what? This was a tough tornado because it was so dusty that you literally almost had to be kind of right there to see it. So this is another shot of it. I think we have a few coming up of this one because they're all kind of, I think, sorted by date, apparently. So this was not a cell phone. So it's a normal camera, but it's still it's just so gnarly and crazy. I'm jealous I wasn't closer. But there's some crazy editing with this one, with it's kind of maybe over sharpened here, lots of pixelation. The clouds up here look a little funny, but my God, again, it's one of those things you're just in the moment and you got to do your best.
Yeah.
I think that if it's so dusty, but don't bring the how is it called in English? The dust reduce slider.
Dehaze. Clarity or dehaze.
Dehaze. Yeah.
Yes.
One. Don't bring it all the way up. So it's not that good. It's powerful, yes, but just be a bit more settled with a
more conservative with it.
Yeah, conservative. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree. That's one where Linda mentioned, hey, you can take it into Photoshop and do things like that's one of those ones where dehaze works in a few areas. So then you want to go in Photoshop and, create additional layer and mask it in instead of just globally doing it. Cause then it can really globally kind of destroy your image. But it's still, that was such a crazy surprise tornado. Same tornado from a distance. And obviously you can see that it was very dusty. So from just not much further away, it gets a lot harder to see. But I appreciate the effort here with getting a road in the middle of the shot, a tree on the right, trying to create a nice composition. So that part I really like. It was shot at, that's probably why it's shot at 3200 ISO. And this is, it's pretty grainy. So that's part of the thing with shooting at the high ISO. And so there is a little bit of a balance. I just said, maybe increase the ISO a little bit, lower your f-stop to get a faster shutter speed. This is at 1/160th, and so at f4. So maybe this one, the ISO was a little too high, just because of the grain, and that's a little bit tough with printing and stuff like that. But I love the composition. There's a lot of effort to try to get that perfect.
Yeah, it's also a little bit out of focus. And I will add that if you're shooting at high ISO values, one thing that digital cameras will suffer from is that you also decrease the amount of dynamic range an image has, in colors and stuff like that. And so when you try to boost contrast or boost saturation for certain colors, you'll notice that the colors will kind of just flatten out because that dynamic range is not there. So I would say, if you have to shoot at high ISO, which I do a lot, then you just lean into that and don't try to bring back excess color that may get looking kind of muddled if you don't take care to do that really on selective adjustments. And I noticed that the image was a little bit out of focus, but overall, in terms of the light and the composition, I find this a very pleasing image. What do you think, Dennis?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate storm structure with a tornado under it. It's my kind.
Okay, and so this is another one. Obviously, I think it's the same photographer because the same settings. I like this image. I think the horizon might need to be straightened a little bit. This was obviously after this, so the tornadoes move in, or that maybe it's a different tornado. Actually, I think maybe the other one died out, and this was a new one because there were several. It's definitely because of the ISO and maybe because of the lens. There's definitely like these lines of noise and stuff. I just really like this one because I didn't see it a lot out there from people. I saw a lot of the big wedge, but this one with the structure and the nice little white cone and the dust underneath it, I hadn't seen a lot of photos like that. So that's kind of jumped out at me.
Yeah, I think all we said from the picture before it should be said here too. So, but yeah, overall, the composition is great. I love it. But yeah, unfortunately, the settings are not ideal in this case. Yeah.
Yep. This one is pretty cool too. This was shot really wide open. It's actually kind of interesting. This is with a Nikon, and I think a lot of noise reduction must have been done. It's like at ISO 8000, it says, whoops. And, but it does look a lot, less grainier and all that stuff. So I don't know in terms of, like a landscape photo, this could be considered, like we did have that photojournalism, like category this year with the police car there and the lights. It could have maybe fit that too. But it's a nice shot down the road the best you can. I don't mind the cars there. Like I actually kind of like the police there. Probably like, tells a little bit of a story. Like maybe they're blocking off the road and they're watching the storm. Kind of like that a little bit. And you can see, I'm thinking like just all kinds of hail on the ground, which is kind of cool. This one, I just like this one for the fact, like overall, the uniqueness of it is pretty wild with a tornado and a big lightning bolt in the same image. Again, we are looking, for landscape kind of quality and editing and all that stuff. But at the same time, it is a storm photo contest. So things that are unique and different are interesting. So this is, looks like a big smooth channel kind of lightning bolt with a tornado on the left. What do you guys think of it?
It seems like it's two pictures in one.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know. But it's matches perfectly together. So yeah. My view of first sight, so it's a lovely image. I could look at it a long time. So yeah. Unfortunately, it's maybe a bit grainy or so. I could not see it in perfectly here, but yeah, maybe just a bit too dark for my taste. But I like the tornado a lot because it's not fully condensed and the rest is getting up by dust.
Yeah, it's just a little bit on the grainy side, which is interesting because it says it was ISO 200. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe some of it was maybe it was shot too dark. I do know that it does say F18, so maybe it was a lightning trigger, or maybe there was something going on where you're trying to capture lightning, so your f-stop was super narrow. I don't. To me, if it's this, dark, you probably could get away with a little bit less, f16, f10. But if shutter speed was 150, so maybe it was lighter than it appears. Yeah. And I think the shadows maybe got lifted a little bit because the bottom of this tornado is lighter than the top, and I feel like that is probably shadows getting lifted because that's where it looks a little grainier. But just a couple little things with the editing. Linda, do you have any thoughts about this one? For some reason, I feel very calm when I look at this.
I agree. I think it's very calming. I like how the sky kind of connects into the water there, and that kind of flows back and forth. And so I think compositionally, it has a lot going for it. Of course, on close inspection, we can see that there are some issues, whatever. I'm not necessarily always against grain. I mean, maybe personally, sometimes I have kind of a hate for some grain that I might find in an image of my own. But in general, grain is fine. And, all movies have heavy grain in them. And there's a lot of photos from everyone that has grain that are absolutely incredible. So grain by itself doesn't really turn me off. But kind of flatness and maybe some of this kind of graying that you can get from reducing highlights a bit too much. These types of things are, but of course, I also don't know how big of an image this was originally prior to this being cropped down. So sometimes what can happen is if you have a very large image and you crop it down, then the noise becomes a bit more pronounced and some of the problems that can come with that. But overall, I agree with you. It's a very pleasing image, and it's nice to stay in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I like just this little splash where you can see where it lands, and then or where it's touching the ocean. And I like this little boat over here.
Yeah, that guy's scale. Like, shit.
Yeah, or they're trying to get to it. I mean, maybe they're like, oh crap, but it does look like they're running away. So you're probably right. I don't
know. It might be good fishing there. Who knows?
It does seem like it does seem a little grainy at the top. It says it was shot at ISO 40. So that's kind of surprising. So I don't know if maybe it was a little dark and had to get brightened up a little bit. But I just really like the just the whole thing, just the peacefulness, the scale with the boat. All right, here's another, I think, water spout. The last one was a water spout. I think this is also a water spout.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember which storm it was, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's definitely in Europe. So it says says Aeroport El Prat. So is that in? Where is that in?
I don't know exactly.
Oh, okay. I figure you're the expert on every town in Europe. So
no, too many countries here. So it's Barcelona.
Barcelona. Okay.
Yes, Spain.
That's right. Yeah, I think for me, I'm torn between the fact that it's really beautiful to see this with the city, like contrasting, to see like all the city and then see a tornado in the background. But I think it's because the tornado is a little dark that it doesn't like pop as much. But I also like it as kind of looming in the shadows back there. So I'm really kind of conflicted. And I think it may be cropping it a little bit from the right to the left, just a tad to kind of get the tornado a little more centered. But overall, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. In this case, I like that the tornado is not so bright because it's just illuminating by the city lights.
Right.
And it's just, it makes the scene more realistic.
Yes. Agreed.
So, yeah.
That's why I'm so torn, because I kind of want to see it more, but I also like what you just said, because that's kind of what I like about it, that it's lit up by the city.
If there were a lightning bolt to it, which illuminates the whole scene a bit more, it would be awesome.
We could if you could have just added a lightning bolt. I mean, why? Just try to be better next time.
Yeah,
try to be better.
You know us. We have dream shots in our mind every time. So
well, we did have that one last year with a water spout and a lightning bolt next to it. So we've had it. So if you can't get it, I guess it's just unfortunate.
Yeah, it's got a bit of color banding and stuff in there. Like if you look along the top side, there's like this greenish magenta cutoff, and also the blacks are quite lifted here. I can kind of see on the histogram it's not really, and so I think it lends to a bit of flatness in the image overall. And I almost feel like even though the tornado by itself or the spout by itself is like in the frame, okay, I feel a bit like it's too tight. Like I would want to see more of the area around it. I don't know if that's because of the airport being down there and all of these buildings, but it's a bit of a competition. And I agree that not having what Dennis said, not having the tornado be too bright is a good thing. But I also feel like you got to kind of try to balance out what's happening down in the foreground with what's happening in the sky, because that is the main character, so to speak. But if you have all these bright competing areas down in the foreground, then it kind of tends to draw the eye down. And since there is not a lot of contrast in the sky, it kind of competes for me with the foreground so much that I don't look enough at this amazing spectacle of nature that's going on in the back. But it's a tough position to shoot from, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these lights are quite bright. I mean, this is like a baseball field or something. I just noticed there's looks like a little Doppler radar right there, probably by like an airplane. Yep, definitely an airport. So very cool. This is another one that I think I wish it was slightly cropped left again, because it was really cool when I first saw this. I'm like, oh, that looks really good. And then I see, you know, the water spout coming out the bottom left here, which is just spectacular to get at night. I'm not sure if this was also Barcelona from a different angle or what, but to get all this in one shot, you know, lightning and the tops of a cloud and a tornado at the bottom with these lights is pretty insane. So I think this is, like, just in terms of what was captured, is pretty spectacular. I think I kind of wish it was cropped a little bit to the left, because I just feel like a lot out here is kind of wasted. And this right here is more of the center and the focus of it. But overall, it's what a great storm and a great capture.
Yeah, maybe a vertical crop could fix this a lot, because you are just looking on the left side of this insane scenery, and the right side, it's almost black there, so there's nothing which could tell us more. So agreed with this.
Yeah,
I think this image was killed in the edit. I think it's far too dark on the right side, and there are some stars and stuff up there. You could, instead of, I don't know if there's just a vignette or if the vignette's due to the lens or what happened, but the colors are very punchy, a bit too much. I don't know if the blues in the where the lightning is in the head of the cloud there is quite that blue. Maybe balance that out a little bit. Maybe bring up the shadows a bit on the right there where the stars are, because that's a really cool aspect of this image. Which is the fact that it's shot at night and you can see stars and you have this amazing scene going on there below the clouds. I think maybe bring some balance into it. Of course, you've got this harbor or boat parking area there. That helps also pull the eye back over to the left, like Dennis said. I'm not sure. A vertical crop maybe could do something just in terms of balancing out the heaviness of where things are in the frame. But I suspect that if you adjusted the raw file some to have more information on the right, that it might not help the image as well.
Yeah, that's good. And you could, I don't like doing like 1:1 ratio crops very much, square crops, but that could also, a square crop would maybe kind of fit everything into one little spot. But I like what Linda said. I don't know if it's dark on the right because of vignette, or if it's dark on the right because there's nothing out there and there's no lights, and that's just the way, you know, it was. So it's kind of hard. And if you bring it up, maybe you introduce noise and you got to fix that too. But I agree, the stars are really amazing. So I definitely would want to bring more attention to that. Here's another Morton shot. This one, I kind of like this one as well, because it's got the tractor and it's got cars, and it's definitely really grainy, but, you know, again, this is one of those places where this looks like it was probably handheld in a terrifying moment with a monster tornado and probably hail falling. So, you know, you got to do your best, and it's like decently sharp for what it is. And I feel like it looks a little more realistic and under edited as compared to some of the earlier ones that were really heavily contrasted in clarity. This feels a little bit more natural to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this case, I like the tractor and stuff, what's going on in the foreground too, because it adds scale to the scene. And I'm sorry, but yeah, it's more realistic. You are looking at an unreal scene, but the tractor and the road and the cars, and they're added some realistic to the image. So but maybe what I don't like so much is maybe the white balance is a bit off for my taste. So, but overall, an incredible scene. And if you imagine how the conditions were while shooting, absolute crazy. So
Go to this one. This one is, I think, one of my favorites of all the submissions. I think that the focus, you know, on the right and stuff is just a little soft. But again, this tornado is just right there in the field. I think what I like is that even if there is a little bit of kind of softness or motion on the right, that the windmill looks fairly sharp, and you see this debris in the field or in the air. The perspective of it It reminds me a little bit of one of the ones from last year, I think
Mhm.
by Bill Reed, where there's a white cone and a lot of dust on the ground, and you feel like you're looking up into it. This just, it obviously looks like a wide-angle lens, so we're very close. And these conditions to shoot something like this in total perfection and sharpness and everything is very, very difficult. So I just really, really like this shot.
What is the focal length? Do you know it?
No, it doesn't say. It doesn't say.
I would bet
I got
14 to 16 or something.
Yeah, I would think it's something like that.
It's just there.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Lena, do you have anything to add on that one?
I mean, it's a really awesome image. I can imagine standing there and being quite nervous about the direction this thing is heading into next, or watching my head for flying debris. Right. There are some technical things which you've already discussed, but in terms of the overall, wow factor of this image with this windmill and the Tornado X, so it's well balanced. I like it. I don't have anything to add beyond what you said, just the technical things.
These last three are kind of the same Andover tornado. I think all by the same person. This one's got some, just some issues where there's, like some reflections, I think, up here from the police or from the ambulance racing by. And I can't tell if there was some noise reduction or something, but again, I kind of like just the story of this image with the tornado and the ambulance. It's not a perfect image in terms of technical stuff, and it's a little soft and all that, but there's debris on the tornado, which means you obviously are fairly close to this because it's hard to see debris if you're further away. So it's a cool little story from this tornado.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with the storytelling here.
Mm-hmm. I think just for me, if I like, there's some things you couldn't do probably to fix like all the, sharpness and stuff, but I think you could get up here and kind of get rid of these like little blue reflections, glare from the ambulance. This one is just crazy. It's like kind of hard to know. Like it almost doesn't look real, like that the foreground was put in with this, because I'm fairly certain that they were just right there, less than a mile away, maybe half mile. So this thing is just spinning so fast that it makes it look really blurry and out of focus. But I think it's just because it was moving, that close, which is, again, it's one of those tough things. What do you do to get a sharper shutter speed or a faster shutter speed to be able to freeze that motion? It's tough. And then I'm gonna go to the last one, which is the same tornado at sunset. It feels a little cold to me, like the white balance overall. But again, obviously this person had to shoot most of this stuff, it looks like, in a city or near a city, near Andover, and just doing the best you can is kind of tough. But I do like that there's a little sunset behind it. But yeah, man, and you know what? It's kind of cool. There's a little twinge of like color, like orange and pinks in the tornado itself. But maybe some editing issues with the shadows there. But obviously, this is a tough side of the tornado to be on the opposite side of the sun, because then you're going to get more silhouette stuff, and it's a lot.
Yeah, but this could be great in some cases if you have the lights on the back, on the behind the tornado.
Yeah,
in some cases.
In some cases, yep.
Yeah.